Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and I know everybody's kind of just craving more information about the Nintendo Switch 2. We all want to see this thing, see what it looks like, what games will be available at launch, and of course, we all want to know just how big of an upgrade we're actually going to get. Well, a new Nintendo Switch 2 report exploded online last night that supposedly leaked the specs. Yeah, that's right, and we're going to talk about the positives for this leak, the negatives as well, because not everything has everybody hyped, and most importantly, we're going to talk about if any of this is even true in the first place. So do stay tuned for all of that. Then we'll also talk about a relatively new Xbox game that's already canceling future plans. First, though, let's just go and get into our first topic of the day, and we're going to start off with the Silent Hill 2 remake. As we talked about in a previous video, according to a recent PlayStation 5 trailer, Silent Hill 2 is set to release sometime in 2024, but we've still yet to get any kind of real confirmation from Konami themselves, and we're also still waiting for a real gameplay reveal. So there is some mystery shrouded around this remake, but however, that might change sometime here soon because the Bloober Team president had this to say about their development on Silent Hill 2. He said that Konami is developing a promotional campaign. We believe that this promotion will start very soon. Now, it was only a few months back when Bloober Team kind of pointed the finger at Konami. They essentially told fans that Bloober Team doesn't have control as to when they can show or reveal information for Silent Hill 2. They might be the developers, but those decisions are still made by Konami. Well, from what we're reading here, it does sound like Bloober Team is suggesting that Konami will reveal this game sometime very soon. Now, I do kind of wonder where that could be, maybe at an upcoming PlayStation State of Play. This is a PlayStation 5 timed exclusive after all, so I started to look into the history of PlayStation State of Play, and I noticed that they've had a State of Play in February for the last 3 years, so maybe sometime next month. Now, this is just speculation, but nonetheless, it's becoming more and more likely that Silent Hill fans will have something to look forward to in 2024. Now, that's not the only exciting revival for 2024, though, because just later this month, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will release on January 18th. Now, I continue to be highly impressed when I see this game. It's quickly become one of my more anticipated games this year, especially knowing that it's coming from the Rayman Legends team. They just did an extraordinary job with those games, so if anything, I'm optimistic. But if you are on the fence, or if you want an early taste to see if you like its new direction, they are dropping an early demo tomorrow on January 11th. This demo will be available on all platforms, which is nice to see. And do kind of keep in mind here that the full game is pretty long. Ubisoft claims it'll take players 20 to 25 hours to complete on average, so it's only going to be a portion of the final product. All right, so let's go and get into the big story of the day here, though, the supposed Nintendo Switch 2 spec leak. And that's something that I do want to make very clear before we get into this. This is only a rumor. Nothing is confirmed for the time being, and it's something that everybody should take with a grain of salt. Even still, though, this leak is coming out of Taiwan. Nintendo does manufacture some products over there, so some fans are looking at this as a possible legitimate leak. I'll let you be the judge on that. I'll kind of give you my own opinions here in just a second. But let's just go and take a look at what's being claimed. So this report was summarized by Go Nintendo, and we can read here that it says, the latest report coming courtesy of an article on a Taiwanese economic site in which the system is referred to as a new Switch and some of its hardware specs are detailed. Here are the juiciest points about what the new Switch console will feature. NVIDIA's T239 processor, 8GB of RAM, 64GB of storage, greatly improved battery life, a 120Hz screen refresh rate, and a price of $400. The insiders indicate that the price of the system will be increased 33% from the Switch's $300 to $400 due to worries about costs from part suppliers. Now, I do agree with that last part there. If I were to make a prediction right now, I'd assume that $400 will be the safe bet. I mean, if you just look at inflation alone, we should absolutely expect a pricier console than we usually get from Nintendo. So when I look at the price points that they could possibly go with, $400 to me makes the most sense. Nintendo historically is a very price-conscious company, and I don't really foresee them going any higher than that. I think that it will be more expensive than the Switch OLED, which is $350, but I don't think that it's going to be quite as high as the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. So $400 to me sounds about right. I think the most surprising part to this leak, though, is the 120 hertz display. And if there's any reason to raise a red flag over this report, I think that this would be the one. Again, we're talking about a company that is very price conscious, and there are questions about why a handheld would need a 120 hertz screen in the first place. Now, I mean, the ROG Ally, that has a 120 hertz screen, a beautiful one at that, but not a lot of games can actually run at that frame rate, especially if you don't have the raw power, which is something that we're seeing with the rest of these alleged specs for the Switch 2. So while, yes, I think a 120 hertz screen would be very exciting, it is a little suspect when you start to look at some of the other specs here. We'll get back to that here in just a moment. Even more so, I actually prefer Valve's strategy with the Steam Deck OLED currently. That thing actually has a 90 hertz screen, and that's actually really important because what that does is that it allows for 45 frames per second. No, not a lot of games can actually run at 90 hertz, but what it does allow is for 45 frames per second gaming, which is such a massive improvement over 30 FPS. I mean, I think that we're all kind of aware that the Switch 2 is not going to have the same raw power that the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 has. Its main attraction, once again, is going to be its portability. It will be a weaker device, but by giving developers an option for a lower but still good frame rate, could be beneficial for third-party studios looking to port their games. Talking about the power, though, that's the other surprise with this report. It claims that it's only going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, we've all heard the reports that the new Switch successor will be deeply ingrained with NVIDIA DLSS. So that could theoretically minimize some of the power gap between consoles, but 8 gigabytes of RAM is still a little bit lower than what a lot of people were expecting. Reportedly last year, dev kits were at 12 gigabytes, and even if you look at the other handhelds in the market right now, they're mostly sitting at around 16 gigabytes. Now, you can kind of argue that 8 gigabytes would be more in line with the Xbox Series S, which has 10, which 2 gigabytes of that is reserved for the operating system. Now, the Switch 2, that's also going to have some memory reserved for the operating system as well, but it might not necessarily be as heavy, if you will. So, if it can at least be comparable to the Xbox Series S, that's honestly not all that bad. So 8 gigabytes wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world, but I would like to see it at least be 10 gigabytes of RAM, if not more than that. I think that sets them up for a better future because, I mean, if they're going to have this console around for another 6-7 years or whatever, you know, having a little bit of overhead would be able to keep them from falling behind too much as the generation progresses. The other issue that people seem to have with this leak, though, is the storage. Reportedly, it only has 64 gigabytes. Now, if you buy your games physically, because, you know, Nintendo uses cartridges, that will help with the low amount of storage. But, I mean, if you buy your games digitally, this is just not going to be enough internal storage. I mean, sure, you can buy an SD card, but, you know, it would be preferred to have more internal space. If this is true, though, the only explanation that you can kind of make here is that Nintendo is trying to cut down on costs as much as they possibly can to keep that $400 price tag. But that's kind of the thing about this leak. It almost contradicts itself in a way. On one side, it allegedly has a 120 hertz screen, but it might not have enough power to consistently take advantage of that refresh rate. That 120 hertz screen would also increase costs, but they're also cutting costs with the storage. I don't know. I'm definitely skeptical of this leak, and in fact, it has actually been pointed out online that this website has a bad track record when it comes to Nintendo leaks. So I would definitely take this report with a grain of salt, but let me know what you all think about all this. Are you on Team Real or are you on Team Fake? I'm going to go ahead and say fake, but hypothetically, if it does turn out to be true, let me know how you all would feel. Moving on, though, let's go and talk about Xbox because they just announced they're shutting down development for a game that they just released last year, being Minecraft Legends. We can take a look at Mojang's announcement, which reads, "Since launch, we've listened to community feedback and implemented a series of changes and tweaks to make the game better. With that complete, we're now going to take a step back from development. While we won't be releasing any new content for Minecraft Legends, the fun doesn't stop here. We'll continue having a blast playing the game alongside our community because those rowdy piglins are showing showing no signs of slowing down. Plus, we're leaving you one last freebie, the Bright-Eyed Hero skin, which you can claim now on Minecraft Legends Marketplace. Illuminate your path forward and continue fighting the good fight. Our existing Lost Legends challenges will remain available for free, and you'll still be able to reap the rewards if you claim victory. We will, of course, continue to offer technical support to players, and we won't be removing any functionalities or features from the game. PvP and co-op will also remain fully functional, so you can continue playing whether you prefer to take on the piglins by yourself or battle alongside or against friends. So the silver lining here is that this game will remain online and completely playable. If you do enjoy this game in any type of capacity, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. However, as a live service project, that ended today, which kind of tells you that this game was not very successful. Live service projects are meant to last for years, and if you compare this to Minecraft Dungeons, you know, that game received new content for several years after its initial release, and Legends, it ended its support less than 1 year. That tells you quite a bit, but honestly, I'm not really overly surprised by this. Legends just never really seemed to take off the same way as Dungeons did, and I think a part of that is its genre. It's described as an action strategy game, but that is a niche genre for consoles, and I think especially with kids, which is probably their main demographic. I know in my family, my daughter really likes Minecraft, and she enjoyed Minecraft Dungeons. We played that a lot together, but when I let her try Minecraft Legends, she just lost interest almost immediately. It just was not a game that she enjoyed, and I imagine a lot of kids kind of felt similar to that. With that said, though, even though this game probably wasn't some big success, I do, however, like that they're experimenting with Minecraft. There's a lot of potential here just considering how massively popular this IP is. And they did say in this same statement that they will continue to experiment. So it'll be interesting to see what they can come up with next, but hopefully whatever it is, it'll focus on a bigger demographic. Let me hear what you all think, though. What type of Minecraft spinoff would you like to see next? Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. We got to talk about the Nintendo Switch leak again. Let me know what you think about that and whether or not you think it is legitimate. But until next time, peace out.